Hi there everyone, welcome to the episode number 2 of this video tutorial series on academic illustrations. In this episode, we will look into Microsoft Excel and learn how to turn these very basic charts and line graphs into something much more acceptable. So in the episode 1, we actually looked into Microsoft PowerPoint and learned how to make these types of 3D artwork. And we also learned how to export them at high resolution of 300 dpi. So if you are new to this series, I would recommend you to check the explanations in the episode 1 so that you can understand why we are changing certain things, why we are trying to adjust the style of the graphs and adjust the style of the exported image. So checking the episode 1 will help you better understand this episode. Okay, all right. So in this episode, first let me briefly discuss why I think Microsoft Excel can be a good and bad option depending on the purpose of your illustrations. So if you want to just create a very simple bar chart or pie chart, or you want to show the trend line of your data with a simple line graph, then I think Microsoft Excel is an excellent tool. Because of the very simple graphical user interface, it is very easy and time effective to create bar charts and simple line graphs in Excel. However, if you need to use any sort of mathematical analysis, for example, if you need to do Fourier transform on your data and then create the line graph, then I think using MATLAB, Python, or C with graphical output would be a better choice. In our future episodes, we will of course cover MATLAB and Python. So if you are interested in learning those tools, please check the later videos in this series. Okay, so let us start. I will first delete these two so that we can start fresh. So I have my independent variable over here in the column A, and I have my dependent variable over here at column B. To create a line graph, I just need to select both of these columns, go into the Insert tab and click Recommended Charts. From the previews, I can see that this chart looks the closest to my expectations. I want something like this, so I will hit OK. This is the generic line graph that Excel spits out when you select that default option. We cannot use this in any professional research report. We have to modify it. So we will right click and then move this chart to a new worksheet. Let me give it a simple name. So now it's in a separate worksheet and it's easier to work with. We will select the y-axis because it is way too small. We can't see it properly. So I will select the font family to be Arial and the font size to be 28, and I will change the color to completely black. I will do the same with the x-axis, font size of 28 and color to be black. Right now it may look to be very congested, so it's okay. We will fix that later. In the default settings, there is no option to add the axis labels, axis title over here, and there is a chart title which we really don't need. So we can find these options by clicking the plus icon over here. So over here we can see that the chart title is checked. We will uncheck it and we will check the axis titles option. So here we have them. If you need your error bars or legends, trend lines in the graph, you can select the options from here. Okay, so we have to change these as well. Change the font size and finally the color. And finally the y-axis, 28. And then the color. Okay, now to fix the spacing between the y-axis values, we can click on the y-axis and then go into the format axis section that is available on the right hand side, go into the axis options, and here under the axis options tab we can find the bounds. The minimum is set to 0, which is okay. The maximum is set to 4.5 into 10 to the power minus 9. We want to change it to 5 into 10 to the power minus 9. Excel is smart enough, and so it adjusted all the values for us. That is very good. However, it did not set the x-axis values, so we will have to do it ourselves. Click here, go into the format axis section. This one is a little bit different. So we have to go under the labels section and select this option, specify interval unit. For my data, if the unit is 1, then there is a data point after each 0.5 units. So I think if I choose something like 4, then it gives me a nicely spread out x-axis value, which I really think it looks nice. Okay, next I would like to have a border around here so that it is easily visible. The graph is separated from the other side. So I will click it and then select the solid line option by going into fill and line. This one is black, which is okay. The width, I think it should be around 1.5 points. That's nice. Next, I want to change the stroke width of the line graph. So I will select that, go into the same line and fill and line option, select solid line, and then increase the width to 3 points. Okay, now it looks pretty much done. I also want to remove this very thin border outside of the whole graphs, outside of the whole chart area, it says. So I will select no line and it should be gone. Okay, so I just need to change the titles. I think the y-axis values are the voltage values and this is the current values. So finally, we are happy with the formatting we have done with this graph. So we want to save it as a template. We can use this template later if we want to create similar types of graph with these kinds of data. So I will maybe give it some name and save. It's okay to replace. So next time, I do not need to go through all of these detailed style modifications. I can just use the template and this graph will be generated automatically. Let's actually see an example how that is done. So after selecting the data, we will insert this graph and then move this graph to a new worksheet. Okay, so all we have to do now is right click, select change chart type and go into the templates option that is available over here. Here we can see that we have our own my line graph template. We just have to click OK and all of the style settings will be applied immediately. This is one of the best features of using the templates in Excel. Alright, so we are happy with the graph. I think this one, right. So we want to export it. We have to go to File, Save As, and then we can see what are the options Excel is giving us. Unfortunately, Excel only gives us PDF format. It doesn't give us the options to export it in TIFF or PNG. So if your journal accepts PDF format, then you can just export it at PDF and then submit it. That's completely fine. But if you need to generate TIFF artwork from Excel, there is a workaround. The Microsoft Office suite, the applications actually work very well together. So I can actually copy this whole graph and then paste it directly into a blank slide in Microsoft PowerPoint. PowerPoint will preserve all the styling information and all the data and put it directly into a slide. Next, as we have discussed in the first episode, we have to go to the option of Save As. We can select TIFF or we can select PNG. Let's choose PNG for now and export it. We will select just this one so that we are only exporting this slide. And we can see that it actually exported the graph at 300 dpi because we changed the registry keys in the first episode. Okay, so let us actually check how it looks like inside the template. I would delete this one and then paste our image over here. It's too large, so I will change the height. Okay. As you can see, the text in the main body and the text in the graph are very similar, which should be in a well-written article. Okay, this is the technique on line graphs that I wanted to share with you guys today. Of course, there is another option to create very professional bar charts with Excel. So for that, I have this very simple survey with me in front of me. There are a few options. So to create a bar chart, I need to go to Insert and Recommended Charts. And I think the horizontal bar chart over here is the best way to represent my set of data. So we will do the same thing. I will move this chart to a new sheet, for example, like this. And we will again maybe first do this one because that makes sense. Change the font family, the size, and the color. Over here, change the font family, the size, and the color. And we can choose this option to be gone. Okay, so we can add the axis titles over here and add the axis titles over here. That can be done just by a click. And I think this, depending on how many options over here you have, how many values over here you have, you need to change the size between the bars. That can be again done by clicking the axis options over here, and this gap width actually controls that value. I think for my set of data, something like 120 would work nice. Maybe it's a bit too thick. I think 150 would be nice. And this color is actually too bright for me. I think something like dark gray. That was not the fill, it was the border. So the fill, and I need to change it to something like dark gray. That looks much better. So when you are happy with the style settings that you have made, you can save it as a template, and later you can generate these kinds of horizontal bar charts anytime you want with just a few clicks. So the basic idea is that you create your own style settings for your own research data and use those templates, use those style settings consistently to create the data visualizations that you need. With that strategy, you can actually write a very well-organized research report, even if you continue that research project for over a year or a few years. So you can use the combination of Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint to create these types of artwork at high resolution. I think that is about it for this tutorial, because the details will actually depend on what kind of research data you have. There are many types of recommended charts over here. For example, over here you can see all kinds of maps and 2D and 3D line graphs. Depending on your research data, you can create your own graph and then apply the style settings that work best for you. But no matter which style you choose, please try to be consistent with that style for the remainder of your research project. In the next episode, we will look into MATLAB. We will see how to read data from external files, how to modify that data and create different kinds of plots and graphs with it. I hope you guys will join me in that tutorial as well. Thank you very much for watching this one. See you next time.